So the Nintendo stock narrative has just died a death. Their stock has just jumped after the release of Pokopia. And a lot of people are trying to clown on them for this. They're kind of sitting there and they're like, oh yeah, all they had to do was release games and they would never have been in this situation to begin with. And I'm just sitting here thinking that, like, wow, we're at the point now where these people are desperately trying to control the narrative of a stock jump, a surge, an uprising. Nintendo stock doing well is now a bad thing because, well, previously it wasn't doing so well. Like, this is the mindset of a moron. This is a loser's mentality. This is game journalism analysis taken to its natural conclusion of them taking this obviously good thing, the direct opposite of what their narrative was just a couple of months ago, and then trying to spin it into being a bad thing. It is unbearable. It is like a textbook example of just how delusional and off kilt like the Nintendo hate community actually is. It is absurd how they're sitting there doing their best to try and downplay Pokopia, trying desperately to write this game off and ignore it. We're getting to the point where they're complaining about the stock price going up. I mean, I'm not complaining. I put like $4,000 into Nintendo stock while it was down. So I have seen a massive uptick in my stocks. But everyone else, everyone else was seething. They were trying to say that, like, Nintendo was, like, doing an uprising. You know, the shareholders were going to riot. Like, people were saying they were going to get, like, acquired by BlackRock and they'd become an American company and they'd be, like, putting out woke paused SJW slop. You know, like, you know, I legit saw people saying this. Actually, I still see the same people pushing this narrative. Like, this is a defining example as to how we cannot take criticism of Nintendo or the Switch 2 seriously. Because we were told that the Switch 2 has no games, and that's why the stock price crashed. You know, that was the narrative for the past couple of months, is that nothing had come out. Oh yeah, please ignore Mario Kart World, please ignore Bonanza, please ignore Kirby Air Riders, please ignore all the third-party games, please ignore all these games that are coming out. Please ignore Tamagotchi Life. Please ignore, like, Pragmata, Resident Evil Requiem, Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly. Please ignore Pokopia. Please ignore all of these games coming out because they don't count. Switch 2 has no games. I don't know why I would ever own a video game console that only has Nintendo games on it. Nobody would ever support the biggest and best video game developer in the world. It's stupid. It always was delusional and insane, but we're kind of reaching the outright end point when it comes to, like, these anti-Nintendo copes, where, like, we are seeing these guys reach, like Monkey D. Luffy, to try to stretch like an ARMS character, to try and pretend as if Nintendo is in a bad spot financially or that nothing comes out. You know, hey, newsflash, genius. If your entire narrative hinges on this idea that Switch 2 has no games, every time they release a new one, you're going to have to find some excuse to downplay or ignore it. And it was bad the past couple of months, because we were seeing people, like, downplay Nintendo Switch 2 exclusives, like Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. We saw them downplaying day and date third-party ports, like Resident Evil Requiem, Pragmata, and Rune Factory, Guardians of Ozma. You know, we saw them downplaying Nintendo Switch 2 versions of Switch 1 games. You know, so many times these guys came out and tried to say that Super Mario Bros. Wonder didn't count, that it wasn't worth playing because I already played that, even though that the Switch 2 version has new content that you can buy for $20 if you own the game already. Like, again, like, there's so much we can address and talk about when it comes to, like, the Switch 2 narrative and how it fell apart. But I think the long and short of it is, when you really look at what's been happening in the circle, like, what we saw is that the gaming community was desperately trying to downplay the Switch 2 immediately. You know, you had Review Tech USA sitting there trying to say that, like, he genuinely regrets buying a Switch 2. And I'm just like, why? What exactly are you so upset about? And I've never seen a good explanation as to why. And the simple reality of it is, these guys don't play video games. They don't know anything about them. They don't care about them. And as a result of that, like, a company that puts out video games is, like, strange and evil to them. You know, like, a lot of these people get their gamer cred by hating on Nintendo and doing their best to downplay and ignore them. That's kind of my mentality looking at it right now, is that, like, for a lot of these people, hating Nintendo is a status symbol. It's, like, their primary identity as gamers. They don't really like video games. They don't really play video games. But, like, you know, they grew up, I don't know, seeing other people be fans of Nintendo and other people enjoying themselves. And they're just such toxic, evil people that they can't really process it. You know, like, how dare Nintendo fans be having fun while I'm sitting at home alone, jacking it to lolicon hentai. Okay, that's their mentality. Okay, that's their mentality, is that they hate Nintendo so much because Nintendo fans are so much more successful. They're smarter. They have more fun. They have more friends. They have, like, more active social lives, better careers, you know. Meanwhile, you have people who just endlessly try and go on Twitter and try and tell you that, like, oh, I don't know why I would buy a Nintendo Switch 2. Like, you buy one of these for video games. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It just, well, I don't want to play video games, though. Then, like, well, why are you commenting then? Like, why did you even bring it up? Like, that's kind of my mentality at this point. Like, if you don't want to play video games, you can get the fuck out. Like, what purpose do you have in the space? Is my mindset at this point. So, that being said, what can we expect going forward? What can we expect going forward? Well, we're going to see a lot of people, like, sitting around and doing everything they can to try and say that, like, the Switch 2 is going to peak with Pokopia and that there's nothing else coming out and that Nintendo, like, didn't put out a Nintendo Direct and that's going to cause them problems. It's not going to happen. I do really want to spell this out for you right now, that the period in which, like, we can allow people to be skeptical about the Switch 2 and its success, that's over now, okay? You know, the stock price cope is done. Like, the sales copes are done. Not having exclusives cope is done. Like, there's really nothing more you can do other than pretend that you hate every single Nintendo franchise that isn't Metroid. And considering the release of Prime 4 and how that was received, you can't even pretend to be a Metroid fan right now. You know? So, right now, we're in the situation where the community is doing everything they possibly can to downplay and ignore Nintendo, and it just is not resulting in anything positive for them.